Hey everybody, and welcome to Jack's Treasures on YouTube.
You got it right this time. That's awesome. Am I wearing the same shirt? Oh my God, I hope I washed this since the last time that we recorded, guys. Does it smell okay?
Yes.
Okay, good.
It was 5 minutes ago. I changed my shirt though.
She changes her shirt and then announces that we're batch recording. All right, guys. I actually got to thank a couple of people for this question because I was on Mike Camparelli's Mike Medco Meetup Live.
We were actually asked this in a comment too.
A few days ago. And yes, somebody did ask us in a comment about this. Mm-hmm. So this is where this one came from. We actually started talking about it that day. Shout out to Archie Biscuit Butt.
And Repo Man.
Okay. And the biggest question is that what do you do when a prior owner of the storage unit contacts you?
Now,
or should say confronts you.
Let me do a lot of paraphrasing here, or
paraphrasing.
Not paraphrasing. Like I'm gonna discuss. Number one, the prior owner should not be able to contact you. The storage facility is not allowed to give out the name of the buyer to the individual.
They've asked us a couple of times
if we were willing, and we said no, and that has
don't ever do that.
That has never happened. We have never had our name leaked to the buyer from the storage facility.
Yeah,
but depending on the units you get, it may be possible for the people to figure out who you are.
Yeah, so let's break it down into when these confrontations happen.
Right.
Do they happen at the storage facility, or do they happen after you've unloaded the item? And does it happen even before you get to the storage facility?
For us, all of those instances have occurred. We have bought a lot of storage units, though. Yeah. 99% of them have been completely stable, no contact with the original owner or anything like that.
Well, we have had
incidents.
Yeah, we've had the incidents, and they've happened on multiple platforms too. That's
we will
the
talk about
really scary
the
part.
First type of confrontation, and that's the confrontation that happens at the storage facility when you are paying and or unloading.
Yeah, it's happened to us at least twice.
Yes.
Okay, one of them was bad, and one of them was whatever. Meh, if you would. Okay, we're going to do the one that's meh first.
Yeah, we had purchased a storage unit, and we went off to get our trailer or to get some lunch or something before we came back and started unloading. We came back to the facility, and there was a note on the door of the unit we bought. We put our lock on and everything.
Yeah.
We come back, and there's a note, and the note was the guy, apparently who owned the storage unit, that said that if we needed any help unloading it, he would be happy to help us for free.
He was going to come to the unit and help us unload
his stuff.
Our stuff that was his stuff. And immediately when that happens, the very first thing that you should do is go to the office. Because the people, when they lose their storage unit, they're not allowed on that storage facility's property.
Right.
Okay? Period. Okay? They're not allowed. They are
essentially trespassed.
Right. They are trespassed at that point.
It is usually in the contracts and things like that they are not allowed to come back on. So when that happened, we were concerned. We went to the office, and the lady was super apologetic. She said he must have followed somebody in.
He followed another car. Everybody knows that the gates open up, and even though it says one vehicle at a time, everybody follows everybody in. That's just.
But she checked her cameras. He was no longer on property, and she was going to do her best to keep an eye on things, make sure that he did not come back in. He never did. We never heard anything else about that again.
He literally asked us to come and help unload his own unit.
Yeah.
I think, didn't he want something?
I think probably,
like
I don't know.
And personals, by the way, legally they're supposed to go back to the prior owner.
And we do the best we can with that. We did have a video just last week about what we do with personals, and we try our best.
Check it out. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool video.
And now we'll talk about the more disturbing time this happened. But this, we paid for the unit. We are getting ready to unload it. We get a call from the front office, and they said,
thank you, by the way, shout out to Cube Smart.
Yeah.
Okay.
They told us, guys, don't leave. Don't try to leave the facility. We are locking you in.
Yeah.
The prior owner of the unit showed up They were in the office. They were being very aggressive.
Okay, just to let you know, I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, it's fine.
But you know how some of the facilities, they have security cameras throughout the whole facility, and the cameras are on. This guy was watching us. Mm-hmm. He literally was watching us taking the stuff out of his own unit and was extremely upset that they did not contact him. He was yelling at them. He wasn't blaming us.
No.
Even though he was going to try to take it out on us because we were in his sense, we're stealing his stuff.
Now, after the fact, the storage unit told us the story of him, that he had been behind multiple times. He'd paid, he'd been behind multiple times. They had told him, you've got to go. You've got to pay this off. You've got to get out of here. And he didn't.
No, and not only that, but he had another one that he lost at another facility that was right down the road. And it was also a CubeSmart.
Right.
So he had two of them that he lost both on the same day. But he shows up. So we get locked in. Mm-hmm. They called us up. They said, do not go out to your truck. You know, don't open the doors or anything like that, because then the guy can come in. All of his codes are locked out. All of his codes are locked out. And what did they end up doing?
They had to call the police and have him removed from the facility.
Yeah, I think he left before the police got there, because he essentially was trespassing at that point.
That one was a little bit scary, just because we heard how aggressive he was being. And then from then on out, when we were finishing unloading that unit, we actually brought an additional person with us.
My son.
That, you know.
He stayed at the truck while we were bringing the stuff back and forth and stuff like that, because the one thing, it's just me and Tracy. So this was like a 4-story storage facility. The good thing was everything was indoor.
Right.
So the guy couldn't get to us unless we went outside.
Right.
So to load the truck. But so when we're doing the units, at times there's nobody at the truck. So we're putting the stuff in the truck, then we go up and grab some more stuff, and then we come back down. Well, this time we changed it, and we said, I asked my son to come out there. My son came out there. Thank you, Colin.
Yes.
And basically, he was at the truck the whole time. But we didn't have any other problems at that point. I think the facility said that if they see him or his vehicle,
they were going to call
the police immediately. Okay, so
but nothing happened. Scary. It was just a little scary.
Yeah.
And now the next type of confrontation we'll talk about is after the fact. I'm going to talk about, we have two different situations, and neither of these...
You're going to open up the door first.
Yeah, I got to let the cat in.
I don't know if you guys can hear it, but the cat is like scratching at that door like it's nobody's business. It's like, I want in, I want in, I want in. Yes, Jesse, you are now in. It is the crazy one.
And these were both... the people found us after the fact, and one of them we actually learned a very valuable lesson from. The one unit we bought right in our town. I mean, it's actually from a facility that we have rented our own unit from before. Mm-hmm. And, it was just it was a very small unit. It was like less than $100 unit. Just random stuff in it. And it was in our town. So we start listing some of the lawn equipment on Facebook Marketplace, which is what we usually do with that type of stuff.
Lawn equipment, furniture, just larger items that we just don't want to deal too much with.
We put a weed whacker or something on Facebook Marketplace. Well, the previous owner of the unit recognized his exact weed whacker.
I don't know how.
I don't know either, but he did, and he wrote us. And
what was it again?
A weed whacker.
I just love the way she says that. Weed whacker.
But he recognized it, and he wrote us, and he was like, hey, you overpaid for that unit. That was the first thing he said. Yeah. Which I was like, no, I didn't. No, I didn't.
That's the one thing. They don't know what the unit went for.
Because I paid less than $100 for it, and there was a piece of chiropractic equipment in there that I immediately sold for $300. So I did not overpay for the unit. First of all. But he writes us, and he was very
on Facebook Marketplace,
confrontational and not nice. And then he was like, at the end of the paragraph he wrote, he was like, and my Nana's blanket was in there, and I want it back. Well, if he had come a little bit nicer.
I will let you guys know this. We have been to a couple of facilities that before we even got to the facility said to us, going, hey, the owner of the unit said that such and such was in it. One of them was a family Bible. or one of them was a Bible from World War II, and it was their grandfather's, and they said they would really like that back.
And things with sentimental value, I am more than happy to pass back to the owner. I would have given that blanket back if they had just told the facility and let us know, because it had no intrinsic value to us.
No, it had resale value, and it did have resale. Oh, the one item, remember the one item was the Bible that had the metal on it, and it was because people would put it in their the breast pocket, and so
we gave that back.
We gave that one back
because the person just talked to the facility, but this guy, since he approached us, he was a little bit rude. He didn't get his blanket back. Unless he went to Goodwill and found it.
Nor did he get his weed whacker.
No. Mm-mm. But that was the lesson we learned, was that if we buy things in our own town, this stuff's not going to go on Facebook Marketplace. Or at least we're going to hold on to it for a while, something like that, so that they're not.
That's happened multiple times. Multiple times that people have said, that looks exactly like the dresser I had. I'm like, okay, blocked.
Lesson learned, if we buy in our own town, it's not going on Facebook Marketplace. I might put it on like a OfferUp or something where I have a little bit more ability to just hide who I am, so they're not able to get on my social medias.
Yeah, and with your social media too, if you're a reseller, I would recommend that you have a different account on Facebook. We do not.
We don't.
We should. We need to. But that you can use that account that is not associated with your name. Unfortunately, we don't have that.
No.
So we're not even taking our own advice.
Do what we say, not what we do.
Yeah, definitely don't do what we do. That's what I
always tell my children.
That's definitely something, because, we're not very successful at this, but we're trying.
And then the third, or the final way we have been approached was another way,
because I'm sure there's others.
Was actually on eBay. Now, this was a good year after we bought the unit. We bought the unit. It had so much stuff in it. Some of the stuff got put to the side. I eventually get around and I list this item that was
it's a very item that is like uber personal, as in the fact that not when I mean uber personal, like it's got the thing.
It was some fraternity memorabilia. So he did recognize that as having belonged to him, and he was right. And he actually wrote me. He wanted to buy it. He asked me where I got it from, and I lied. I lied out my butt. I was like, I bought that at a estate sale in Roswell, Georgia. So that was how I handled that one. I lied. He actually bought it from me. Never heard from the guy again. Everything was
you did.
Well, it came back returned to sender and all that, but he was
then
never.
What did you do?
I canceled the item
and
threw it away.
And
I don't know.
Blocked him.
That is true.
She did.
But that was because he didn't pick up his thing at the post office. That really had nothing to do with anything else. It was just, he was wasting my time at that point. But he never threatened us. There was no
he could have. He was a lawyer.
There was no risk of harm in that one, but he did that, and that's the kind of thing. If you've got something that's very specialized, they can find you on eBay, and that I recommend lying, because that's what I did.
Recommend just straight up lying.
Just straight up lie.
Oh my God! Is that going to be the title of this? Of the title of this one? Hey guys, best advice: lie. Yes.
Well, I mean, when it comes down to it, I do not want to have confrontations with the previous owners.
Normally, not, and the reason why. Emotions are high, guys, for the people. They just lost their storage unit. They just lost their stuff. In a lot of instances, it's a hardship that caused this. Some instances, people lose their units, which that should be a full video that we should just cover, is how do people lose their units. Yeah. But the emotions are really super high, and like when the guy was watching us take his stuff, supposedly his stuff, it's our stuff, but taking it out of the unit that he had prior to that, he was angry.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's not the first time. We've had a couple of people that have been angry at auctions. We were at a live auction, and somebody who didn't even have his unit up for auction called us a vulture.
Screaming, vultures! Yeah. Vultures!
You guys are nothing but a bunch of vultures. And I'm like, I'm not a bird.
At the end of the day, we are providing a service to the storage unit facility and improving our reselling business. And
I mean, that's the whole nature of the resourcing business. Buying storage units gets you a lot of merchandise for a lot cheaper, for pennies on the dollar for each of the items that's in there if you buy right.
Right.
Okay, which again, those are another videos for us. We haven't learned that part. Yeah, we have. We're actually really, really good buyers and stuff. People have asked me how many units that we normally buy, and I said, well, when we were buying heavy into storage units, we were averaging probably about 8 to 10 storage units a month. Sometimes we even bought like 4 or 5 in a week.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're at the point right now where we're buying like 1 or 2 storage units every 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
But we're buying a lot bigger units that are going to have, they're going to cost us a lot more, but we can see a return on those and we can handle it as long as we have that we need that time now to do that.
We are working through backstock right now. I don't plan to look
and she wants to go yard selling.
I do. But I don't plan to probably buy any storage units until maybe late summer to early fall. That's kind of what my eyes are on right now. And like,
by the way, on the way to Nashville, Ray, Tracy said to me, hey, let's buy a storage unit in Nashville.
It would have been fun.
For you, I would have had to rent a trailer and driven that trailer back from Nashville, which we've done that before too. But so there's a lot of stuff that goes along with, buying something and then putting it up on the marketplace. Multiple times people have contacted us on the marketplace, said, hey, that was mine. Okay.
It's not
blocked. Easiest thing to do. I don't ever want to have that confrontation where I'm owning somebody else's prior possessions that they lost in a storage unit via whatever method is why that they lost that storage unit. Right. But 9 times out of 10, when we go to a storage facility and the people ask us, hey, they wanted to let us know that they had a family Bible in there from World War II. Fine.
You're getting it back.
You're getting it back. It
they
has
want
value.
Their pictures. They want
their pictures. They're getting it back.
Absolutely.
If that one guy would have said he wanted his grandma's blanket, he would have got that back. I think we ended up selling it for like $75 in our booth.
It went to Goodwill. It wasn't a nice blanket.
Oh, never mind. Sorry, your blanket sucked. One time we bought a storage unit and then people weren't supposed to sell the storage unit. And so we didn't we didn't have a confrontation with the prior owners. The prior owners had a confrontation with the facility. So the facility contacted us and said, hey, can you bring back everything that you got? And I was like, no. Okay, I can't. Legally, I own that stuff. Once I pay for that storage unit, I own that unit. Let me say,
the reason we couldn't especially was the fact that we had already discarded of a lot of it.
3 of the things that from that storage unit were refrigerators, and they were destroyed on the inside. Actually, 2 of them we thought we were going to be able to sell on the marketplace, and we opened them up, and it was like, no, we're not.
We had discarded a lot of that unit. We did bring back a lot of things. We got it fully reimbursed from the unit, and we brought back a lot of the contents, but we were not able to return it all.
We cherry picked. I will let you know that. We definitely did that.
A couple of items, but
we did.
We did the best we could. We knew
happened to us twice.
The owner that had their unit sold accidentally was going to get a settlement from the company, and
it's called a bond. Each one of the storage facilities has a bond. It's usually about $3,000 to $5,000 is you have that bond. And so if they sell a unit that they're not supposed to sell, because it's happened to us 3 times, okay? 3 times.
We bought a lot of units, let me say.
Yeah. 3 times we bought units that they were not supposed to sell. One of them, we didn't buy it. The facility reached out to us and sold it to us and sold it to somebody else. And they weren't supposed to sell it to begin with.
Second chance offer. It was crazy.
Second chance offer. So 2 people are now at the unit. They both paid for the unit. So legally, they both own the unit. But I was the first one to pay for it. So legally, I own the unit. That was a huge fiasco. And at that facility, we will never buy from that facility again. That's another thing, too. Be very aware of the facility location. We talked about that in one of our prior videos. And if that's the case, be safe. Always err on the side of caution, okay? If you don't feel safe at that facility or you don't feel safe at that situation, leave. Call the cops, okay? Call the cops, all right? They're there to protect. You're doing this business, and as I said earlier, emotions run high when people lose their storage units.
But don't let me completely scare you off of buying storage units, because as many stories as we have that went this way, the vast majority have been smooth. Oftentimes people are glad to be rid of the unit. Believe it or not, it will often be like a family member that has passed away.
A grandmother, I know we got one of those.
The family is glad to have that weight off their shoulders. Or they just let the unit go.
There's one of them that absolutely killed me. Is the guy lost his unit, and he was crying on the phone at the facility, and he asked the people at the facility if it was okay if we gave back like all of these really expensive items, and I'm like, no. I'm sorry, I can't do that. He had a bunch of signed shoes from basketball players. He was somewhat of a minor celebrity in the town, and I was like, I can't do that. I mean, you're talking about me giving back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of material, and that's our profit. So, to wrap this one up, be cautious. Generally speaking, the facility will take care of you.
Yes.
Don't ever engage. Never engage with one on Facebook,
if somebody
whatever
wants to reach out to you, no.
Nope.
I'm not
going to. Do not ever let the facility legally cannot give out your private information. Right. None of that. Okay, none of it. And we've had a couple of them that have asked. Hey, people asked if they could get your information, and they were literally going to buy it off of eBay from us, and I said no. Sorry, but. Like, share, and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Tell us your experiences with buying storage units. If you've ever had a confrontation, how you would handle it. We're not confrontational folks, so we try to avoid it as much as possible. Help us out.
That's why I lie.
That's why she lies. Did you lie to me?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
How do you think I managed to snag this hottie?
Oh, she did not. She felt bad for me. She was like, he's swimming at the bottom of the pool. But make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Hit that thumbs up button right there. Hit the notification so you guys will know when we release another very bad video.
Help support Stop Soldier Suicide. The information is always at the bottom of the post. Click, take a look, see if it's something you would be interested in helping with. And as always,
pet a cat. Peace out from Jack's Treasures.